Um, Rabbi Jack Gabriel is going to talk and sing and play and get our ruach, our spirits going here. And we're very excited to have him for this next hour. To those of you joining us on live stream, thank you again. To those of you who are here in the shul, thank you for being with us. We still have plenty of refreshments. And we've got 3 more sessions starting with Rabbi Jack right now. Rabbi Jack, over to you. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your teaching.
You're welcome in advance. So, make sure I'm in tune. It's amazing to follow Yehudis because she says the incidental learning you pick up from listening to Yehudis is extraordinary. And also her knowledge of Talmud, of Midrash and Chassidus is extraordinary. I like to be around extraordinary.
I gotta tell everybody the first time
Yeah.
I met you, remember? I don't know if it was Traverse City.
So Traverse City,
1996, something like that.
Traverse City, Sutton's Bay, Chava Bailey.
Yes, and you gave your weekend Shabbaton was Up with Joy.
Well, it was from Oi to Joy.
Oi to Joy.
From
That's
Oi
right.
to Joy is a Jewish concept and
So
style.
that's how long I've known of him, and now have the pleasure to be with him.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. What a sweet intro. So, lie, 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 lie. Because of my sisters and friends, because of all my children too, because of my brothers and friends, you know I pray for peace for you. That's funny, I said I pay for peace. Ha! And I pray for peace, but I'm paying for it with my body. Lie, 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 lie. This is a day for learning about global and Yiddish things. This is a day for moving past doubt and trying to understand new things. Oh, yeah, 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 lie, 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 lie. So my friends, I have questions and answers. Fewer answers than questions. So here's one question I have. How is a global day of learning like a Beatle album? What do you think? Especially Magical Mystery Tour. How is a global day of Jewish learning like this album? Well, the first thing is roll up for the mystery tour. And then there's this wonderful thing where the Beatles are so subtle. Oh, you get they subtle. The first thing they say is, roll up. The Magical Mystery Tour is hoping to take you away. And then they say, the Magical Mystery Tour is waiting to take you away. And then they say, the Magical Mystery Tour is coming to take you away. And then the last one is, the Magical Mystery Tour is dying to take you away. So in a little pitzel, a goofy song, they go from hoping, to dying. Second song, The Fool on the Hill. Some of these Rebbe's we're quoting, they're fools on hills. Because even in their own time, they weren't really understood. They were just doing their Rebbe-ness. They were fools on the hill. And then flying. Well, if a class like this works, hopefully we'll all leave flying. Blue Jay, there's a fog upon L.A. Well, there's sometimes a fog upon Boulder. So that's in here too. And then it's Your Mother Should Know, which is one of the greatest Yiddish songs you ever heard, written by a Beatle. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yiddish melody taken right out of some Stiebel in Liverpool, probably. I Am the Walrus. Well, self-assertion in the face of the craziness, the sheer craziness of the world. So it's like a global day of learning. Today, I wanted to do a little billboard of what I'm going to do, which I'm hopefully already doing, and that is, what are rituals that I think are new rituals, are ones that haven't been done yet, or if they've been done yet, I've done them, and a couple people have done them, but maybe they can spread beyond me and beyond this situation of this room teeming with people and people zooming from far, far away from the great state of Louisville, from the planet of Lafayette, from all the places on this earth, from Mars itself, So, so I'm gonna share some changed rituals that I already do, and I'll suggest, some things that might be useful because of today's exigencies. You know that word, exigencies? Emerging emergencies are exigencies. And we live in a world, who here notices the world has emerging emergencies? Who doesn't notice that word? I guess I'm the only one who notices there seem to be emergencies in the world. So
We know.
What?
We know.
You do know. All right, but I'm not gonna perseverate, but to not mention it is not so great either. So to kind of change that energy, I did music first. But I also want to say an invocation, Hasidic invocation, a actually Kabbalistic invocation that the Hasidim took on. I noticed we heard Isaac Luria mentioned when Rav Yehudis was talking. So l'shem yichud kudsha brichu shchinte, for the unification of God out there, doing all kinds of amazing things, creating galaxies as we speak, Milky Ways that look like a cup of coffee with some cream in it. It creates strong forces, weak forces, all the science we cannot really wrap our head around, but it's going on. And we're notating it. And to bring an abundance from wherever there is. By the way, who thinks the word shefa comes from the root Hebrew word chef? Anybody vote? Oh, I think I see a Maggid who agrees with me that shefa is an extension of the word chef. All right. Oh, the Hord Hashefa Me'a'olamot, to bring down abundance of social glue, of laughter, of joy, of honesty. Harini Mekabla Alai Mitzvah Bori, I take upon myself my Creator's mitzvah, again as Yehudis quoted, V'ahavta l'reecha kamocha. Love your neighbor, Jewish, not Jewish, plant, animal, as you love yourself. And may we love ourselves enough to not want to hurt our neighbors, plants, animals, people. And out of that, may joy be the residue of prayer, of compulsion to be generous, of desire to be at peace with the cosmic and the planetary, the external and the internal, today, tomorrow, and always, as we say, Amen.
Amen.
So, what are some things that we aim for in these times as Yehudim, as people who are, we're called the generous ones. Yehudi comes from the word hoda'ah, from thankfulness, right? Gideon, am I getting that translation right? Hoda'ah.
Acknowledging thankfulness.
Acknowledgement. Okay, so we acknowledge there's something larger than ourselves, out of which pours a certain amount of thankfulness. If we develop that habit, piggybacking on Yehudis. All right. So here's a quote from one of my Rabbis, who was very secular, but Jewish. His name was Phil Oakes. He said, in these times of terrible ugliness, the only true protest is offering up beauty. In these times of terrible ugliness, the only true protest is offering up beauty. Do you buy it? Or is there stronger protest available? Who says that sounds pretty good, Phil? Who says that's not complete, incomplete? Who's not going to raise your hand no matter what I say? Oh, that's good. That's good. So one of the things that I want to offer up is this idea. She also mentioned this. Boy, I don't really have to do my preparation. I did so much preparation, but all I had to do is follow Yehudis. So she did a little thing about when you visit a sick person, you take away 1/60th of their illness. So my question is, should you stop visiting people after the first 60? Or do you fill with too much sickness yourself if you do Bikur Cholim to that extent? What do you think?
It depends on how firm you are.
Okay, it depends how firm you are, and say more. Yeah?
Well, if you believe that the arithmetic is in the arithmetic and not in the spirit of the thing, then you quit.
Ah, interesting. I wouldn't have said that. I would have said if you're really firm, then you say, hey, it's worth it. Even if I get sick, I helped 60 people. That's a kind of a community firm response. So we both are kind of right there. Ed, you want to say something?
Well, a person who's ill, the illness is on a lot of different levels.
Right.
So it's a metaphor. My going to visit someone could give that person just some happiness at that time.
Yes.
Some connection.
Yes.
Lifts the spirit. I'm not taking anything with me from that. The 1/60th that I'm taking.
Well, your generosity, as she said. You take back your own sense of I've given.
Yeah. So it's
not I gave at the office, but I really gave to a person.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it's like the healing prayer. We don't know what healing is for anyone, or what a person is even capable of healing. So it's what dimension the healing comes in.
Thank you.
That's the way I look at it.
So I've had a very interesting and tough week in some ways, because it just so happened this week, every time I called to check, not every time, often when I called to check in with somebody, I called people as they were doing a shiva at home, a Zoom shiva. I called Portland, Oregon, to see how a bar mitzvah boy who I'd helped become a bar mitzvah in the summer, long distance on Zoom, how was he doing? And the woman who was going to play violin with me at that gig that didn't happen was starting shiva for her father. So you know what I did? Well, first of all, I was, taken aback, like, wow, look where I just wound up. Out of a phone call, I'm somewhere. I didn't think I was calling about a shiva call, But the person whose son's bar mitzvah I did was there, and he said, "Oh, this is Rabbi Yaakov. He's from the earlier generation of renewal. He's from the time of Shlomo and Zalman, and we're so lucky that he wants to be here." I don't know if I wanted to be there or not. I just made a phone call, man. I suddenly was there, right? So he said, "Could you start off our shiva for us?" So I said, when people ask me stuff that directly, I really say yes. That's my inclination, is to say yes. So I grabbed the guitar, and the song I just sang, I sang there. Because of my brothers and friends, my children and friends, my sisters and friends, a Shlomo Carlebach words to a melody that I wrote. That sounds like a Carbachian melody because he was one of my strongest influences. He was like my secret Rabbi. I never really sat down and studied with him the way I studied with Zalman, but I studied with him just by hanging around him because he was so charismatic that he kind of leaked charisma, in all directions. He was just an incredible comforter of people and teacher of people. Anyway, so I want to say, what can I take away from there today? Well, I think there are a couple of prayers that people can learn that are useful to have in your pocket in case you find yourself suddenly in a situation with someone who needs a prayer. If you look at the Amida, and I'm going to do this a little bit later, deconstructing the Amida. If you look at the Amida, there's a prayer that says, Shema Kolenu, listen to our voices, V'kabel barachamim uv'ratzon et tefilotenu. And please, God, be open-hearted in receiving our prayers and the murmurings of our heart. And then it's in a Orthodox or maybe some earlier conservative prayer books, it says, add your own prayers here. So it's like a requirement to be involved with the Amida, not just to say it wrote. So that Shema Kolenu prayer is very comforting for people. If you're with somebody that say, my brother's dying, I don't know what to do. And you can't help the brother from dying. You can't stop the brother from dying. But you can help the person in front of you who obviously is going through something about their brother dying, And that's why I think people should have these little hip pocket prayers. Another one is Rifa'enu. That's also in the Daily Amida. Rifa'enu, Adonai v'nei Rafea. Heal us so we can be healed. Hoshienu v'ni vashea. Save us so we can be saved. Ki tehilatenu ata, because you are the source of our prayer or of our song. And when we step out and feel vulnerable, praying to a God we can't see or touch or really know ever, in that kind of way of I know you, If you said that to someone who was either sick themselves or has someone in their family, or a child, God forbid, or a parent or a grandparent who's sick, and if you just say that with them, and then letting them put in their own words of like, what is their prayer in English, if that's your native tongue, or Spanish, French, then you're doing them a tremendous, tremendous service. So one of the things I'm advocating is we take away from the sense that rabbis do all the blessing and all the praying, and say that lay people can learn these 30-word sentences, 20-word sentences, and have them as a kind of a para-rabbinic, emergency kit for when you walk into people who are going through hard things, because people are going through hard things right now. And sometimes people tell you the most outrageous stuff, and they say it in a kind of an offhanded manner, which means, to me, in my humble opinion, they're suppressing the hell out of it. They're telling you their sister is dying of a brain cancer, but they're saying it to you like, my sister's dying of brain cancer. And what are you having for lunch? You know what I mean? They say stuff to you, and you have to almost slow them down for them to hear their own words. So I recommend a new ritual is learn the Shema Kolenu, which is a generic prayer for anything. Learn the Rifa'enu, which is a prayer for healing. And maybe there are other prayers. Maybe they're Misha Berachs. Not to do a full Misha Berach, we have to read it from a book, but just use the opening words. Misha Berach, Avotenu, Ve'imotenu. May the one who blessed our fathers and mothers, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, Zilpah, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, may that one bless. And just, hey, I just heard your kid got into Harvard. We should do a little bracha for your kid getting into Harvard or getting into CU, getting into Front Range Community College, We should do a bracha for that. And suddenly the person doesn't have to look around for a rabbi to, can a rabbi say that for me on Saturday morning? No, how about if I said it to you right at King Soopers on 30th Street? Do you know what I mean? And that's something that I think would be very useful for people to feel empowered in their brachot. So, so that's one thing that I could see. Any thoughts? Anybody have a reaction? Okay. So, by the way, in terms of borrowing from neighbors, see this here? I don't know if you can see it, but it's a pretty cool thing. You should pass it around. What this is a Chinese pictograph. And it's the pictograph in Mandarin, right? They don't have an alphabet per se. They have pictures that mean things. It's a different way of doing a language. The word in Mandarin, this pictograph, for music and the word for joy are the same word. So music is the joy of life, and joy is the music of life.
Say that again, please.
Music is the joy of life, and life is the joy of music. No, and life is and joy is the music. Boy, let's say it again.
Yeah, that's I got confused.
Yeah, me too. And I said it. Music is the joy of life, and joy is the music of life. What do you think? Why don't we pass it around and take a look? And it also looks like a bird that's sitting on the letter 4. Somehow it's a bird on a 4. And why would it be a bird on a 4? Because birds sit on wires, said Leonard Cohen. Like a bird on a wire. Like a drunk in a midnight choir.
It looks just like a bird on a wire.
It looks like a bird on a wire, man. And it's 5,000 years old, what you're looking at. So it's okay to see that in another tradition.